Today, let's tell you a story about the Marine Fighting Attack Squadron 312, also known as the Checkerboards. As you all know, this week's Tides of War brought us the Okinawa skin for the Corsair, featuring the checkerboard pattern on the cowling and the rudder, and that was a distinct feature for the Marine Fighting Squadron 312. VMF 312 was first commissioned at Page Field, Parris Island in South Carolina on June 1st, 1943. At that time, they had 8 officers and 102 enlisted men under the command of Major Richard Day. And to commemorate that, the men nicknamed the squadron Day's Knights. The squadron then received 10 North American SNJ-4 Texan Scout trainers and 1 F4U-1D Corsair. And in 2 months, they had received 10 more F4U-1D Corsairs, which was much more powerful of an aircraft. Its 2,000 horsepower engine was capable of achieving a top speed of 417 miles per hour at 20,000 feet and can go all the way up to 35,000 feet. It was armed with 650 cal machine guns, 2 bombs, and 8 air-to-ground rockets. And then the members of the squadron chose their emblem to feature a devil bulldog wearing a flying helmet and carrying 650 cal machine guns. There are also checkerboard bands in the background. This checkerboard pattern then soon started appearing on the cowling and the rudder of this unit's planes, which was possibly by coincidence, as there were also other squadrons with checkerboard patterns on other parts of the plane, like the one for the Squadron 115 or the Silver Eagles. But in 1943, the war is in full swing. They had to undergo intense training as they were only recently formed. The Corsair planes were also new to the Marines at the time, and had quite a lot of difficulty maintaining these aircrafts. Only 1 month into forming the squadron, 2nd Lieutenant Henry Robertson and Private First Class Gerald Bennett were killed in their Texan during a routine flight. Then in October, 2nd Lieutenants Troy Mullenix and William Erickson flying the Corsairs were killed in 2 separate accidents. And in the same month, 2nd Lieutenant Bill Reynolds had to bail out of his plane after a bird strike. The squadron then moved to San Diego to continue training in January of the following year, and on February 28, 1944, the squadron boarded the carrier USS Hornet at San Diego and arrived at Pearl Harbor on March 4th. They were then reassigned to Marine Aircraft Group 32 with the primary mission to continue training pilots and to defend the Hawaiian Islands. They remained at Iwa Air Station until June of 1944. And during that time of stay, they continued to have many aircraft accidents. In April, 2nd Lieutenant Hugh Marsh was seriously injured after his Corsair swerved off the runway while landing. And then in May, 2nd Lieutenant George Hartig was killed, and Raymond Schoeneman had to bail out of his plane. And 1 month later, Captain Frank Beavers Jr. and 2nd Lieutenant Robert Devine were killed after a collision. In the same month, on June 25, 1944, the squadron boarded the escort carrier USS Nassau to move to Espiritu Santo in New Hebrides. It was then reassigned to Marine Aircraft Group 11 at Turtle Bay Airstrip. They also received 24 new Goodyear FG-1 Corsairs, and because these planes were not combat ready, they had to once again be flight tested, which eventually cost another life when 1st Lieutenant Harry Birch failed to return, only to find his body washed up ashore. Then in September, the squadron received its first combat assignment to Ulithi Atoll, only to have that order cancelled. But they did move on to Ponam Islands in the Admiralties and conducted combat air patrol and escorted naval transports en route to the Solomon Islands. In December, the entire squadron moved back to Espiritu Santo to receive new planes as well as installing rockets. At that time, they also trained along with the Army's 105th Infantry Regiment and received close air support experience. By the end of that year, VMF 312 had 38 pilots and accumulated 14,000 flight hours without meeting a single enemy. Frustration grew as they continued to be plagued with accidents after accidents, when 1st Lieutenant Thomas Mulligan crashed when practicing bombing and strafing. But finally, that was to end as they received orders to move to Okinawa in March of 1945. The pilots boarded the escort carrier USS Hollandia and became the first fighter squadron to arrive at the captured Kadena airstrip in Okinawa. And from there, they finally were able to participate in actual combat missions. On April 12, 1945, 4 Corsairs led by Captain Dan Johnson intercepted 20 Japanese Zeros and 4 Jills while flying combat air patrol. They then downed 8 Zeros and damaged another 6 without a single loss, forcing the rest of the enemy to retreat. And in the remainder of the month, they continued to fight against Japanese aircraft and scored a total of 17 confirmed kills. But 1 Corsair was shot down during a ground attack operation by an anti-aircraft gun, but the pilot Captain Kenneth Rooser was able to bail and later rescued. But in May, it took a turn for the worse. Between enemy anti-air fire and accidents, 2nd Lieutenant Fred Scudazoo Jr. and 1st Lieutenant George Carr were killed. But on May 10th, one of the most interesting interceptions took place. 1st Lieutenant Robert Klinkman and Captain Kenneth Rooser teamed up to destroy a Nick, which was a twin-engine Kawasaki Ki-45 fighter plane. They spotted the enemy plane, but because it was all the way up at 38,000 feet, the 2 Corsair pilots had to fire most of their 50 cal rounds to lighten their aircrafts, because their typical maximum altitude was 35,000 feet. Then Captain Rooser died from above the Nick and damaged 1 wing and engine with his remaining ammunition, and Lieutenant Klingman moved in for the kill. But nothing in life is that simple. His guns failed to fire, and because the Nick was losing airspeed due to the engine failure, the propeller of Klingman's Corsair chewed into the Nick's tail and almost cut off the entire rudder. He made a second pass which cut it off completely and damaged the right stabilizer. And then the 3rd time's the charm. He made another run and severed the stabilizer completely. The Nick then went down, and Klingman was able to land safely back at Kadena airstrip despite major damages taken during the collisions. Then 4 days later, on May 14th of 1945, Major Richard Day, the squadron's commander, was killed by anti-aircraft fire. 11 days later, on May 25th, the squadron faced another group of Japanese aircraft and destroyed a total of 16 planes, but costed one of their own, when 2nd Lieutenant Malcolm Burney was shot down by a Zero. The streak continued in June as they downed another 59 planes, but costing another life when 2nd Lieutenant Merlin O'Neill was killed in action. A month later, on June 1st, 1st Lieutenant Samuel Smith bailed out after his aircraft was damaged, but was captured by Japanese and tortured, and he was later released after 2 months when the war ended in September of 1945. And the last pilot in the squadron to be killed in the war was Captain Paul Brown Jr. by anti-aircraft fire on July 12. With the end of the war in September, the squadron remained busy flying combat air patrol and observation missions until February of 1946 before moving back to the United States. They flew to Iwo Jima and then Guam and then back to San Diego. Lieutenant Colonel Perry Schumann, an ace with 6 confirmed kills, became the new commander officer. They then transitioned to the new F-7F-3 Tiger Cats from their F-4 U-1D Corsairs. They then began practicing tactics, recruiting new pilots, and held many air shows at bases throughout Southern California. At the end of October of 1946, they were transitioned back to the Corsairs, but an upgraded F-4U-4 version. 1 year later, they had changed the designation from Marine Fighting Squadron to Marine Fighter Squadron. They then continued many joint training with Marines and routine training at El Toro until 1950. Peace did not last when they were once again involved in another conflict, also known as the Korean War. The squadron survived and eventually participated in the Vietnam War and many recent conflicts in the Middle East, still having checkerboard patterns on their planes. But those will be stories for another time. Fights on. And that's it for the origin story. Like if you enjoyed this, dislike if not. Let me know what you think down in the comment section. Feel free to follow me on Twitter and join my Discord channel. Links are down below. I would also appreciate it immensely if you decide to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell for notification. Otherwise, have a fantastic day, and I will see you again soon.